Okay, so 28 pa lang. Anyway, can you hear me clearly? Hello? Okay. So let's wait for 2 more minutes and then we'll start with the discussion. By the way, do you already know if about the first quiz, which will be on March 27? So you'll be having your first quiz covering the topics that we've discussed from weeks 1 to 5, and that will be on March 27. Are you aware of that? Okay, good. So that means we still have one more meeting before that quiz, right? So probably the scope will be the basic of financial statements and the misstatement in the financial statements. So the last topic that, or the topic that we'll be covering, if we'll be able to catch up with the cash, audit of cash, probably that will also be included. So let's go back to the problems on misstatements in the financial statements. So last time we've discussed about the different types of the statements, no? And then when we're talking about errors, um, this the errors will also the errors misstatements due to errors also have two types. So one is counterbalancing, errors that are counterbalancing and errors that are non-counterbalancing. So we discussed that the impact of or the effect of these two different types of errors will depend, no, whether the client or the entity has already made the adjustments or made the entries in the subsequent period. So if the entries were made in the subsequent period, then basically, if it's a counterbalancing, no, it's a counterbalancing error, then it will have no impact on the balance sheet accounts anymore, other than the retained earnings. But if it's a non-counterbalancing, even if the entity, no, made an entry related to that account, in the subsequent period, the error in the prior year period will not be corrected. Okay. So for this problem number one, we are going to identify whether the errors or the error is a counterbalancing or a non-counterbalancing. So let me share my screen. Okay, can you confirm if you can see the handout and the G sheet?
Yes po,
Confirm
sir.
lang. Okay. So let's start with letter A. So this is an omission of accrued expenses. Is this a counterbalancing or non-counterbalancing? So this is a counterbalancing, right? So let me copy the errors here para ano, and then I will put the answers. Sige, dito na lang. So counterbalancing or non-counterbalancing. So this is an omission of accrued expenses. It means the company did not incur the expenses no, in prior year, but or let's use the years provided here in 2020, but an entry was only made in 2021. So in that case, there is yeah. So in that case, there is an understatement of expenses in 2020, but uh, um, yeah, there's an understatement in 2020. So this kind of an error is considered as a counterbalancing error. No, it's a counterbalancing error because if the company will be creating an adjustment in the subsequent period. So let's say, for example, in 2021, the company will create that entry. So it's an omission. So supposedly in 2020, an entry was made with the debit to expense and a credit to an accrued expense account. No? And let's say in 2021, this was discovered and the company or entity created that entry. So what will happen? They will create an entry of debit expense, um, credit accrued expenses, no, to make that entry. So if the company made that entry, then there will be an overstatement, no, in expenses in 2021 and accrued expenses. So that is not necessary anymore because what will happen is that if this is an accrued expense related to 2021, then in 2022 this will be reversed, right? So ang mangyayari dito, if there is no correction created in 2021, then and the company paid, no, or the entity paid the expenses, so that will be an entry to an expense, debit to expense, credit to cash. No, then what we're going to correct only is the effect of the overstatement in expenses. No, so hindi na we don't need to create an entry anymore affecting the accrued expenses. So that's what counterbalancing is. Okay? So there's no necessary entry to be made to correct the adjustment or to correct the error in the balance sheet account, right? So that's counterbalancing. Number two, misstatement of prepaid expenses. So this is also a counterbalancing error. So similar with the accrued expenses, no, um, this item is a counterbalancing because if the company will have, I will not make the entry, no, to create or will not create an entry to adjust the prepaid expense, then that's okay. No, kasi it will be auto corrected in the current in 2021. Why? So in 2020, the misstatement of prepaid expenses, no, resulted to an understatement in or sorry, an overstatement, no, in net income, and at the same time an overstatement in prepaid expenses, because supposedly the prepaid expense will be amortized, no? So there is an overstatement. But come 2021, no, in 2021, there is no like in 2021, the company make the correction, no? So a debit to expense, credit to prepaid expenses. So that's the supposedly entry in 2020. So that will result to an understatement naman, no? Understatement in net income or overstatement in expenses in 2021, and understatement in prepaid expenses. So there, that is not necessary. So similar with accrued expenses, that will the error will auto correct itself, and therefore it should not be that the account pertaining to a balance sheet will not be should not be adjusted anymore. No, it's not necessary to be adjusted anymore. Um, so that's for prepaid expenses. Letter C, capital expenditure for equipment recorded as expense. So this is a non-counterbalancing error. Why non-counterbalancing? This is a cumulative, no? So supposedly, the capital expenditure will have an impact on the periods wherein the equipment, or the fixed asset, no, um, will be used. No, the equipment rather, the equipment will be used. So if the useful life of that equipment is 10 years, then the expense should be spread out over 10 years. No, but in this case, it was expensed out at the time it was incurred. So that error, will have to be adjusted, no, to the period wherein the um, equipment will be used. So if it's incurred in 2020 and it was recorded as an expense there, so it means the expenses are overstated in 2020. Come 2021, the expenses will become understated by the amount related to the amortization, supposedly amortization of the um, equipment. Okay, and so on and so forth until the end of the useful life um, of the equipment. So now, what will happen with the balance sheet account? So the balance sheet account, which is equipment, will be understated because there is no capitalization made, right? Where in fact it should be capitalizable. The amount is a capitalizable amount, or the expense is a capitalizable amount. So it means the amount of item in the balance sheet, which is the equipment, is understated and needs to be corrected in order for it to become uh, in order for that amount to be correct. Okay, so the entry will be a reversal of the expense through retained earnings, and debit to equipment, and then an entry on the amortization should be made. Okay, So that's for capital expenditure. Letter D, tract of land held for lease under operating lease was classified as owner occupied property. No? The enterprise used the revaluation model for this class, while it uses the fair value model for all its investment property. So for this one, it's considered as a non counterbalancing um, item as well. So it means that the tract of or the classification of the tract of land, if it's under operating lease, supposedly should be treated as investment property. But what the entity did is it classified it the entity classified it as owner occupied, so which is an error, right? So what's the effect on that? So as if it's an owner occupied property, no, ibig sabihin, the amount of land, no, the amount of or the recorded amount of land is at cost, or at revalued revalued amount, no, where in fact it should be recorded as at fair value, no, fair value model. So the difference or the error should be corrected in the current period in order for it to make it right. Okay? Kasi hangga't hindi niya ginagalaw, mamamali yan. And at the same time, this is for over a period of time. No, not just uh, we're talking about a property or an asset which will be affected over a period of time. Letter E, research expense capitalized as intangible asset. So research expense capitalized as intangible asset, it means similar with letter C, the expenses supposedly or it's the reverse of letter C pala, no? So supposedly there is no capitalization if it's a research expense, right? So expenses related to research and development of an intangible asset should only be capitalized when the commercial and technical feasibility has been achieved. But in this case, it's under research pa lang, no? Research phase. So it means it should be expense out rather than capitalized. So what happened here? If it was expense out, it was capitalized, it means the expense is spread over a period of time. But supposedly, it should only be expense out in 2020. So the correction should be made because it will affect the succeeding periods, no? Resulting to an overstatement in expenses and overstated intangible asset. So there is a necessary correction to be made in the subsequent period in order for it to be corrected. Letter F. Some items of inventory were included twice in the year-end inventory list. So this is an inventory. So what will be the impact of this? So it means in the current period, in 2020, there is an overstatement in inventory. Okay. Um, and so what's the impact of that? So at the end of the year-end inventory is higher, overstated. So that will result to a overstatement or understatement in cost of sales. So understated cost of sales, what will be the impact of that? There will be an overstated net income. Now, what about for the inventory? The inventory is overstated as well. So at the end of the year, it's overstated. So beginning 2021, it's overstated. Now, if it's not corrected, then that's okay in the following period, since this will be auto corrected, no, if the entity will do, no, uh, another inventory count, or will perform, no, will correct the or will check the ending inventory at the end of the 2021. So there's no necessary entry to be created in the subsequent period for this item. Okay, letter G, understatement of unearned revenues. So this is similar nature in nature of similar nature as the accrued expenses and prepaid expenses. No, so this understatement of accrued and unearned revenues means there's an overstatement in revenue. So supposedly an item or let's say for example advance payment from the customers, now which should be recorded as an earned for a future service, now which should be recorded as unearned revenues, but the company what the company did is they recognize it as revenue. So it means there's an overstatement in revenue. So if that's the case, if there's an overstatement in revenue, then uh, net income will be overstated as well. While the inventory or the liability account, which is the unearned revenue, is understated in 2020. Come 2021, no, this will be auto corrected. No, the understatement in on the understatement in 2020 will have no impact anymore in 2020. So mag offset lang, no? So it means um, this item is a counterbalancing error. Okay, letter H, a finance lease was accounted for as an operating lease. So what does that mean? So the entity recorded, no, was recording expenses when the rental is made, or rental payment is made, or when the rent is incurred. So every, let's say for example it's a monthly rental, so the company uh, create an entry on a monthly basis. Whereas if it's a finance lease, supposedly this is subject only to depreciation, di ba, or amortization. So if that's the case, it this or the account or the finance lease account will be understated, and the expense account is overstated. Okay. So there should be a necessary correction to be made in the subsequent period, considering, like for example, the finance list is for a period of more than a year, no? So it will affect um, a number of years, not only during the current year. So there should be a correction to be made in the finance list, no, in the corresponding um, depreciation of that finance lease account. All right, letter I, so that's non-counterbalancing. Letter I, a purchase of merchandise was recorded when invoice price was paid during the subsequent period. So purchase of merchandise recorded when invoice price. What happened here? So there is a overstatement in purchases. So an overstatement in purchases will affect the cost of sales. No, at the same time, the liabilities of the company. So it's a if it's it so if it affects the or if it was recorded, no, purchase recorded during the okay, a purchase was not recorded in 2020 because it was only recorded when it was paid in the subsequent period. So it means the 2020 purchases is understated. So if it's understated, it means the cost of sales is also understated, no? But in 2021, it was recorded, so it means the 2021 purchases is overstated, resulting to understatement in cost of sales. While the liability account is in 2020 is understated, um, but in 2021 it was already paid, so auto-corrected na siya in 2021. So this is a counterbalancing error. Letter J, disregard of significant amount of equipment residual value when computing the depreciation. So depreciation, it means it affects, no, a number of several number of years, not only the current year, not only the prior year. So it means an entry should be made, no, to correct the error. So this is a non-counterbalancing error. Right, so that's for problem number one. Are there any questions? Questions, clarifications? Okay, problem number two. Okay, problem number two. We are asked to identify or to determine the effect, no, of the errors made in 2021 on the 2021 and 2022 net income. So the ending inventory of 2021 is understated as a result of an error in the count of goods on hand. So it means ending inventory is understated, is lower. No? So what's the impact on the net income? So if the ending inventories is understated, so it means the cost of sales will be higher. Okay, higher, overstated. So if so if the cost of sales is understated, so what's the impact on the net income? So it means the net income will be understated as well. That's the net income in 2021, no? In 2022, what will be the effect? So the beginning balance of the inventory in 2021 is now overstated. So it means the wait, baliktad pala. So ending inventory is understated, no? So it means the tama pala. Understated, so it means the cost of sales is overstated, no? So net income as a result of the higher cost of sales will result to an overstatement, ay understatement rather, no? So come 2022, so ending inventory is understated, meaning kulang, no, at the end of 2021. So come 2022, the beginning balance is also understated. So if the beginning balance is understated, that will result to overstatement or understatement in net in cost of sales. So if the cost of sales is understated, so it means there's an under overstated net income in 2022. Okay? Do you have any questions? Lahat naman nakakasunod? Okay, we are 60 here. Ano, I hope all of you are able to follow. Sige. Letter B. Ending inventory of 2021 is overstated as a result of the inclusion of goods acquired and held on consignment basis. No purchase was recorded in the books in 2021. So what will be the impact? Ending inventory is overstated. So if there is an overstatement in ending inventory, so it means the cost of sales is understated. So if it's understated, it means it will result to an overstatement in net income. So come 2022, beginning balance of the inventory is overstated. So it means it will result to an overstatement in cost of sales, no, resulting to an understatement in understated net income. Okay? Letter M. So purchase of merchandise. Um, at the end of 2021, not recorded until payment is made for the goods in 2022. The goods purchased were included in the inventory at the end of 2021. So, ibig sabihin dito, the purchases is understated while the ending inventory is correct. Okay? So, what's the impact of this? So, it will result to an understatement in purchases will result to a understatement in cost of sales. No? And then that understatement in cost of sales will result to overstatement in revenue in net income. In 2022, since the purchases is understated, no, in 2021, that will also affect the 2022 uh, cost of sales, no, the 2022 cost of sales because purchases will still be understated at the time of uh, and it was recorded pala, no? Saan ba tayo? Yeah, was recorded in 2022. So if the purchases was recorded in 2022, then that will result to overstatement in cost of sales. So in purchases in 2022, resulting to overstatement in uh, cost of sales. So as a result, if the cost of sales is overstated, then that will result to understated net income. Okay, letter N. A sale of merchandise at the end of 2021 is not recorded until collection from the is made for the goods in 2022. The goods sold were excluded from the inventory at the end of 2022. So this one, there is an understatement in sales, no? Because the sale was only recorded in 2022. But the ending inventory is correct. So there is no necessary adjustment on the ending inventory and cost of sales. So what will only be adjusted will be the revenue during the year. So if the revenue is not corrected, was not corrected in 20, I was not recorded in 2021, then there is an understatement in revenue resulting to understated net income. No? So if it was recorded in 2022, so ibig sabihin the 2022 revenue is overstatement and that will result to overstated net income in 2022. All right. Letter O. So total of 1 week sales of merchandise during 2021 was credited to other revenue. Is there an effect on this? So whether it's recorded in other revenue or revenue, no, pares pa rin na magkakaroon ng impact sa magkakaroon ng or that pares pa rin na magfo-flow sa net income. So it means no effect because it's just a reclassification, no? Reclassification error. So what the entity will do is to reclassify uh, transaction, no, from other income, other revenue to a revenue account. Letter P. No depreciation is taken in 2021 for equipment purchased in October 2021. So the company reports a calendar year basis and computes depreciation on the nearest month. So there is no depreciation in 2021. What will be the impact of that? So the net income, so if there is no depreciation, it will result to understatement in expenses. So understatement in expenses in 2021 will result to overstated net income. What about in 2022? So this is a non-counterbalancing, di ba? So the depreciation for 2021 will only affect the accumulated depreciation in 2022, no? Yung non-recording of depreciation. So therefore, come 2022, it should have no impact or no effect in the income statement or net income of the company. Letter Q. Customers notes receivable was debited to accounts receivable in 2022. This is a reclassification error as well. And at the same time, this is only affecting the balance sheet accounts of notes receivable and accounts receivable. So it will have no effect on the net income. Okay. Letter R, overstatement of the December 31, 2021 retained in prepaid insurance. So what does it mean? There is no expense recorded since the prepaid insurance is overstated. So as a result of that, the net income, the expenses is understated, resulting to overstated net income. Come 2022, so the correction, come 2022, this overstatement will result to an understatement naman of understated overstatement of expenses, no, in 2022 and understated um, resulting to understated net income. Okay? Letter S, understatement of unearned revenue. So this unearned revenue, take note, no, this overstatement and in prepaid expenses or understatement in unearned revenue, the expectation is this will be reversed in the succeeding period. No, so usually this will last for uh, um, a year. No, if it will extend, no, or if that prepaid insurance or unearned revenue is expected to be realized or to be earned, no, over a year. So hindi yung buong amount, no, yung magiging effect ay magiging counterbalancing, no, in the subsequent period. Only the amount pertaining to the uh 2021 and 2020 or kung magkano yung binayaran nila or kinolect an expense during that subsequent period or uh, na-record as revenue in the subsequent period. Yung magkakaroon lang ng impact. Okay? So letter S, understatement of 2021 unearned revenue. So it means there is an overstated revenue, no, that resulted to an unearned, understated unearned revenue. So that will result to an overstated net income. Come 2022, it's an understated net income. So counterbalancing error. Failure to accrue December 31, 2021 revenue. So it means there's an understatement revenue. Revenue is kulang, understated, then it's an understated net income. It also understated net income. Come 2022, it is expected that revenue will be overstated as a result of this. No? Misstatement noted or errors noted, and then that will result to overstated revenue and overstated net income. Okay, letter U, failure to accrue expense naman. So if the expense is understated, it will result to overstated net income. Come 2022, if it is corrected, or if the company will record no this expense, then that will result to understated net income. All right. Any questions? So can you give me a thumb mark if you're okay with problems one and two? If you really understood problem one and two. Okay, let's go to problem number three. So effects of errors in net income, state the effect, over, under, or no effect for each of the following errors, the net income. So the December 31, 2021, or December 31 year-end financial statements of Joy company contain the following errors. So there is an error in the ending inventory and depreciation expense of the company. So what is being asked from us is to compute the total effect of the errors in net income, uh, total effect of the errors in the working capital, and total effect of the errors in the retained earnings. So working capital, that's current assets, diba? Less current liabilities. So what we're going to do here is let's put the errors here, ending inventories and depreciation expense. Okay? O yan na muna. So, nakalagay dito sa ano. Effect on net income. Copy that. 2020 uh, working capital and retained earnings. Okay. So ending inventory during 2020, no? At the end of December 31, 2020 is um, understated by 48,000. So the effect of that is an overstatement in cost of sales. So if the cost of sales is overstated by 48,000, so it means there is a understated so pag negative understated, okay? Understated net sorry, if its effect on net income, there should be additional 48,000 to be recorded. Okay? So if it's understated, it means additional net income. So positive, no? Okay, come 2021, this understated revenue or understated inventory will ending inventory will affect the beginning inventory. So that means the beginning inventory is also understated. So if the beginning inventory is understated, it will result to understated cost of sales. That understated cost of sales will result to overstated net income. So, bawas. Okay? Come 2021, also in 2021, there is an overstated ending inventory amounting to 40,500. So, what's the effect of that on the net income in 2021? An overstated ending inventory will result to understated cost of sales. So, understated cost of sales will result to overstated net income. So, it will result to 14,500 uh, reduction in it will result to 40,500 reduction in net income. Okay? So, impact on the working capital. For the ending inventory 2020 error, it's zero. No? While for the ending inventory overstatement in 2021, that will be dito yan. That will result to and an overstated ending inventory. What about in the retained earnings? So retained earnings in 2021 will be affected, will have an overstatement of 40,500. Now, let's go to depreciation expense. The depreciation expense in 2020 is understated. So that means there is a understated expense in 2020. So understated expense, sabi natin, it will result to overstated net income. So that means we'll have to deduct 11,500 from the net income. 2020, 2021, is there an effect? Wala, no? Zero, because it's a non-counterbalancing, no? That will all, and take note that all expenses should only affect the period wherein they were incurred, di ba? Even the income, ganun din. So, there should be no impact on 2021, and even in the problem, there is no error. Ibig sabihin, the depreciation expense in 2020 was properly recorded. So what's the impact on working capital? So this is a depreciation expense. Will it have impact on the working capital in 2020 in the working capital of the company? So wala to, di ba? It will all depreciation expense will affect a non-current asset, no? Yung sa accumulated depreciation of the related property, plant, and equipment. What about the retained earnings in 2021? So retained earnings in 2021 will be affected by the by the understated expense or depreciation expense. Okay? So let's read the next the additional information provided. So it says here that an insurance premium of 330,000 was prepaid in 2020, covering the periods of 2021, 2020, 2021, and 2022. The entire amount was charged to expense in 2021. Uh, in addition, on December 31, 2021, a fully depreciated machinery. So, iba na yan. So, let's put here insurance premium. Okay, insurance premium. I think there is a correction here. It should not be 2021, rather it should be in 2020, no? Uh, Hindi, tama lang pala. Wait lang. So 2020, 2021. So the entire amount was charged as to expense in 2020. So it means in 2021, in 2021 rather pala. So it means in 2020 there is there is an understated expense. Supposedly the 330,000 should be spread over 2020, 2021 and 2022. Now, however, it was only expensed out in 2021. So in 2020, the result is an overstated, understated. There is an understated expense, no? So the record launch as prepaid debit, prepaid insurance, credit, cash, no? But there should be an entry, no, that should be that will affect the uh, to amortize the depreciation or the prepaid insurance during 2020. So kulang, hindi siya nakapag-record ng amortization amounting to 110,000. So if that's the case, then understated ang expense, it means overstated ang net income by 110,000 pesos. Okay? Come 2021, so what's the effect of that? Dito tayo sa kasi come 2021, the entire amount of the prepaid insurance was expense out. So ibig sabihin the full amount of 330,000. So in that case, tapat na natin din dito, 110,000 understated overstated ang expenses. So it means uh, understated by 100 or understated by 300 220,000, hindi, 110,000 yung income or yung net income during the year. Why 110,000? So that's because sorry, tama, understated by 110,000 representing the expenses that supposedly should be recorded in 20 mali, sorry. The 2021 net income is understated by 220,000, no? Pertaining to 110,000 that should be expensed out in 2020, and then the 110,000 that should be expensed out in 2022. So out of the 330,000 expenses recorded in 2021, only the 110,000 is the correct uh, um, what do you call this, correct expenses. So it means there is an overstated expense in 2021 by 110,000. Okay? So impact of that is all right. Next, it says here that in 2021, a fully depreciated machinery was sold for 75,000 cash, but the sale was not recorded until 2022. So uh, there were no other errors during 2020 and 2021, and no corrections have been made for any of the errors. So ignore income tax effects. So this one is for fully depreciated machinery. 2021. So it was sold for 75,000 cash, but the sale was not recorded until 2022. So it means there is a understated uh, other income, no, in 2021 resulting to understated net income. So that will result to additional net income. So what will be the effect on the uh, working capital? So working capital is understated by 75,000. Retained earnings is understated by 75,000. Okay, bakit meron siyang because of the cash, no? It's part of the current assets. So let's get the total. So it means in 2020, the net income is understated, overstated rather, over by 73,500. Understated in 2021, the working capital is understated, same with the net income. Retained earnings. Retained earnings is understated. Questions? Oh, I asked you to answer this. Did you get the same answer? Can I get a show of hands? Can you raise your hand if you got the same answer? So isa lang ang nakakuha. Uh, did you understand? Or did you get the correct answer? Or were you able to follow? Just raise your hand na lang so that I can see if everyone is listening and ano. Okay? Oh, so I only got 36. Oh, sige, what about the others? What about those who did not raise their hand? Okay? 45, that's good. No questions so far, ah? Okay. Let's go to problem 3. Problem 4. By the way, here's the link to G Sheet if you want to ano. Okay, problem 4. So correction or computation of corrected net income. So the unaudited books of Armando Company showed the following information. So ganun ulit, no? Let's put here effect of net income, effect on net income 2020 and 2021. So net income is 195,000 and 210. All right. So for problem number 4, we are provided with different errors again. But we are going to compute for the adjusted net income or corrected net income of Armando Company. So first error noted is on the overstatement of inventory. So there's an overstatement in 2020 amounting to 36,000 pesos. So again, overstated ending inventory will result to understated cost of sales. So understated cost of sales will result to overstated net income. So we'll deduct 36,000 here. Come 2021, overstated ang beginning inventory, so that will result to understated or overstated cost of sales. No? So understated ang net income. So add 36,000 here. Next, accrued expenses not recognized at year end 2020. So expenses in 2020 or accrued expenses not recognized in 2020 will result to unrecognized expense or understated expense. So it means overstated ang net income by 40,000. So impact on 2021. So if overstated ang understated expenses in 2021, if it was recorded when it was paid in subsequent period, then it will result to overstated expenses naman. So that will result to an understated net income. So we'll have to add 40,000. Next, supplies inventories. So supplies inventory not recorded at year end. So if the inventories no, was not recorded or supplies inventory was not recorded, ibig sabihin understated. Ang understated ang sorry, overstated ang expenses, no? Or cost of sales. So that will result to an understated net income. So we'll have to add 15,000. So the corrected net income will be 301,000. Okay? So that's for problem 4. Any questions? Were you able to get the same answer? Raise your hand na lang. Hindi ko mabilang kasi if ano. Who got the correct answer? Or the same answer? Paano naging under yung sa supplies? So ending supplies inventory, 'di ba? Not recorded. It means supposedly there should be an ending inventory. Okay? Oo, yes, ending inventory. So understated ang ending inventory mo. So that will result to overstated cost of sales. Or even if expense yan, Eugene, di ba? So if it's expense out, supplies expense, di ba? Where in fact, it should be recorded as inventory. Ibig sabihin, on hand pa yan at the end of the year. So that will still result to an overstated expenses, no? Resulting to understated net income. Okay? So any other questions? Okay, wala na. So let's lower all your hands. Let's go to problem number 5. If we will be able to finish this today, then next meeting, magka-cash tayo. Probably cash will be part of your quiz. Okay? So problem number 5. We are asked to uh, compute no, for the effect of errors on retained earnings to be retroactively adjusted. So when you say retroactively adjusted, we are going to effect that in the prior year period, no? Prior period. So let's put here the periods or the dates where effect on net income 2020, 2021, and then beginning retained earnings. Or, oh, tama. Okay, so assuming that what we are auditing is 2022 already, no? And we have noted this information pertaining to 2020 and 2021. So pag question is how much is the retroactive adjustment to January 1, 2022, it means that pertains to errors, no correction of errors in prior years. So first error noted or errors noted pertain to ending inventory. So 2020, 20, there's an error in 2020 and another error in 2021. So in 2020, the ending inventory is overstated by 12,000 ayan, 12,000 15,000 overstated. No, sabi dito sa baba, assume that the purchases were recorded correctly and that no correcting entries were made at 2020 December 31, 2020 and or at December 31, 2021. All right? So it means uh ang error lang is on the ending inventory. No, wala tayong concern about the purchases. And we have to consider whether the error is a counterbalancing or non-counterbalancing error. So ending inventory overstated by 15,000, so it will result to understated cost of sales. So it means overstated net income. Come 2021, ganun ulit, di ba? Overstated ending inventory in 2020 will result to overstated purchases in beginning inventory in 2021. So as a result of that, cost of sales is overstated, so resulting to understated net income. Check is zero in the beginning inventory or ending inventory in ending retained earnings in December 31, 2021 or January 1, 2022, no beginning. So 2021, there is an understated 5,000 pesos uh, inventory. So that will result to overstated cost of sales, resulting to understated net income amounting to 5,000. So that will result to understated beginning retained earnings, no? January 1, 2022. Depreciation expense 2020 and 2021. So the depreciation expense in 2020 is overstated by 12,500, resulting to overstated expenses. So there's an understated net income amounting to 12,500 in 2020. Come 2022, 2021, there is an understated depreciation expense amounting to 4,000 pesos. So resulting to understated expenses and overstated net income. So that will only affect 2021 as well. Okay, so the answer here is 13,500. So the retained earnings, no, at January 1, 2022 should be adjusted or retroactively adjusted by 13,500 pesos additional, no, credit to retained earnings beginning amounting to 13,500 pesos. Okay? Any questions on problem number 5? Or raise of hand again if you got it correctly. Raise of hand, raise of hand. Okay. Right, that's good. No questions, on problem number 5. Okay, let's go to problem 6. So let's have a 5 minutes break before we continue. No, we answer problem number 6. Ayan, sige, kaya pa. Sige, so let's have a 5 minutes break. So let's go back to the plenary at 9:21. No? Bio break lang saglit. Okay, so let's go to problem number 6. So this is the audit adjusting entries, no, to be made if we have noted errors. So prepare the audit adjusting entries, assuming that these errors were discovered in the course of your examination of the 2021 financial statements. So we're going to create the adjusting entries. So number one, failed to accrue wages. So 160,000 at the end of 2020, wages expense was charged when paid in 2020 2021. So it means the wages expense in 2021 is overstated by 160,000 pesos. So what will be the correcting entry or the adjusting entry to be made? So again, we have to determine whether it's a counterbalancing or non-counterbalancing. No? And ang ibig sabihin nun, if counterbalancing yan, it means that the balance sheet account, no, of that the related balance sheet account is already corrected or autocorrect is already auto-corrected in the current period. So what we're going to do is adjust only the uh, entry, no, affecting the income statement account, and the other entry, the other side of the entry will be uh, recorded as under retained earnings. Okay, so for this one, wages expenses. So the wages expenses in 2021 is overstated as a result of the charging of the wages pertaining to 2020. So it means 2020 retained earnings is understated. Uh, Expenses is understated, so resulting to overstated net income. So we have to recognize retained earnings debit 160,000 and a credit to wages expenses. Reverse the entry created in the current year, no? Ang naging entry niya, 'di ba, when the company or when the entity paid the wages in 2021, so a debit to wages expense, credit to cash. Okay, number two, accrued interest income of 48,000 in 2019 was recorded only when should be 2020, I guess. Correction lang to, no? So accrued interest income amounting to 48,000 in 2020 was recorded only when collected in January 2021. So this resulted to an overstatement in income or in net income in 2021, since it was only recorded that, no, at that time, no, when it was collected. So that will result to overstated retained earnings. Understated retained earnings beginning and overstated um, tama pala, accrued interest. Sorry, yes. So the initial entry is a debit to cash, credit to interest income. So that means retained earnings is or net income is overstated in 2021, while in 2020 the retained earnings the net income is understated. So that resulting to a debit to retained earnings, a debit to interest income, and a credit to retained earnings. 48,000. Okay. Number three, insurance premium covering 3 years starting October 1, 2021 was paid on September 30, 2020. All of the 60,000 premium had been charged to insurance expense in 2020. No adjustments were made in 2020 and 2021 related to these transactions. So let's compute first, no? Prepaid insurance. So that's for October, the total 60,000. So from so for 2020, which is from October to December, that will be for 3 months. There should be an expense recorded as at times, or this is for a period of 3 years. So divided by 3 times 3 divided by 12. So it means in 2020, the expense should only be at 5,000 pesos. However, the entity, no, charge all or expense out all the 60,000 pesos. So may 5,000 lang. In 2021, so this is for the full year, so that's 60,000 divided by 3 lang. So in 2021, there should be an expense, no? This is an expense, while difference between this one is the retained for the retained earnings, and the difference between these three is for the prepaid insurance. What will be the adjusting entry? So first, we'll have to. So what happened if when the prepaid insurance was expense out in full, no, in 2020? So it means the expense in 2020 is overstated. So resulting to understated net income, no? But that the amount of 60,000 is not the full amount of overstatement. So the overstatement is only the 55,000 pesos. Okay? So that 55,000, so the 55,000 will be split between retained earnings, expenses, between the expenses and prepaid insurance supposedly, no? So entry to correct this error is one, a debit to prepaid insurance amounting to 35,000, and a debit to insurance expense amounting to 20,000. So that is for the current year expense, no? And then tama, retained earnings. Tama pala yung ano kanina. for the difference. So it means in 2020, here there is an understated net income, no, amounting to 55,000. So that's the difference of the 60,000 and the 5,000 supposedly expense, and therefore that should be adjusted in the retained earnings during the current year. So a credit to retained earnings amounting to 55,000 pesos. Okay, that's number three. Number four, failed to record 25,000 and 28,000 unused office supplies at December 31, 2020 and 2021, respectively. Cash expenditures of 45,000 pesos and 52,000 pesos were charged to the office supplies expense account during the year 2020 and 2021, respectively. So, what happened here? So, let's analyze the office supplies. So, what the entity did is to record supplies expense. So that's in 2020. The entity recorded supplies expense, uh, 45,000. Then credited cash, 45,000. Wherein supposedly there should be a portion that should remain as prepaid supplies. Okay? So how much is that? But ganito na lang. Recorded this as supplies expense in 2020. But supposedly there should be a supplies, prepaid supplies, office supplies rather, amounting to 25,000. No? So therefore, in 2020, there is an overstatement of expenses by 20,000. So overstated expense by 20,000. So it means retained earnings is understated by 20,000. Retained earnings under. So if retained earnings is understated in 2020, so meron tayong expected dito na retained earnings credit amount of 20,000. Okay? Additional information. In 2021 naman, 52,000 naman siya. So in 2021, ganun ulit. So 52,000. Then there is a 28,000 unused supplies. So that's a 24,000 overstated expenses. So net income. This is on the net income. Impact on net income and the current year under. So it means we are going to record a credit to uh, office supply, a debit to office supplies. Mali, mali pala. Office supplies. A debit to office supplies. Wait. Di pala. Yung 20,000 will be corrected at the end of Wait, okay. Overstated 20,000. Cash expenditures for the year. Teka lang. Vice expenses overstated. Okay, so tama na pala to. Corrected na to. Then it's 124,000. So office supplies 24,000. Hindi na pala to. And then supplies expense 24,000. So nag-auto-correct na kasi yung 2020, no? So there should be an auto correction in 2020. So it means uh, there will be no adjustment necessary anymore. No, kasi at the end of the year, sabi niya dito, the unused supplies is 28,000. So that's the cumulative no, amount already. Bakit 24 to? Mali, 28,000 should be expense. Okay? So that's the correct expense. So for this number 4, no? So for item number 4, the 2020 error was auto-corrected already. So it started with an error of 20,000 overstatement in expenses. No? So supposedly, the 45,000 portion of that will be recorded as office supplies. Right? So that was in 2020. Come 2021, it says in the problem that the office supplies balance is 28,000 already. So it means that's the 25,000 office supplies is probably part of this 28,000 or should be part of the expense out. Ano, no? So what happened is the entry created of or the entity recorded 52,000 no supplies expense in 2021, and then um, so it means the supplies expense is overstated by this by 52,000. Wait lang. Yeah, yeah, kuha ko na mali pala. Sorry. So office supplies expense is ito pala yung impact. Sorry. Should be added here. So bali 25,000 plus 52 beginning. So 25,000 plus 52,000. 77 less 28,000. Dapat ito yung ano pala natin, adjustment. So 49,000 supposedly. Sorry. So impact of last year's overstated expenses so others. So retained earnings, tama pala yun kanina. Retained earnings, 20,000. Tapos 8,000 lang ang office supplies. Okay, paano nakuha yung 8,000? as a supplies expense. Expense 20,000, 2020. Yan, supplies expense supposedly is hindi dapat ito pala overstate, mali yung overstated ano, sorry. Baliktad to. This is the overstatement in ano kasi supposedly should be expense pala to, hindi siya ano. Kaya pala, okay, should be expense. So office supplies supposedly or the adjust that this is over expenses. 25,000 pala dapat to kasi yung office supplies overstated by 25,000, understated by 25,000. But that will affect the retained earnings. So supposedly retained earnings is 25,000. And 2022, 2021, it should be 28,000 understated. Okay? So office supplies is 28,000. Supplies expense is 3,000. So paano nakuha yung 3,000? So that's the difference between these two. No? Bakit nga ba? Negative pala dapat to. Okay. So for this one, the correct amount of office supplies at the end of 2021 is 28,000 supposedly, no? But there's no recorded amount, so we are going to debit that 28,000. And then the office supplies, since it's overstated, no, in 2020 by 25,000 and overstated as well in 2020 by 28,000. So yung 2020 will be first, no, expense out in 2021. So resulting to overstated naman, uh, understated rather, expenses. So and adding, no, the overstatement in the 2021 supplies expense, that will result to an overstated expense of 3,000 in 2021. So we are going to credit the supplies expense 3,000, and then the 25,000 understated uh, or overstatement in expenses resulting to an understated net income, you are going to credit that to retained earnings. Okay, so that's for number four. Number five, research and development costs of 120,000 were incurred early in 2020. So they were capitalized and amortized over a 3-year period. So amortization was recorded in 2020 and 2021. None of the development costs met the criteria for capitalization. So it means there is an overstated uh, overstated expenses, no, in 2021, while in 2020 there is an understated retained understated ex- expense, no. So supposedly that 120,000 should be expense out in 2020. So may natin dito research and development. So what happened here is in 2021, in 2020, expense is nangalang para sa madali. So in 2021, research and development expense, R&D expense is is understated, no, by 120,000 and sige, ito muna, understated by by 120,000. So that means net income is overstated by 120,000 pesos. Then there is an amortization in 2020. So that amortization will result to an overstatement, no, in amortization expense. Supposedly there should be no amortization expense. So resulting to understated revenue in net income. So 120 divided by 3 negative. So there is a 40,000 expense. No? Amortization. Okay. Then 2021, there's another amortization. But this time, this amount is considered as an overstatement in expenses, no, resulting to uh, ano, oh yeah, overstatement of expenses resulting to understated um, net income. So for number five, we are going to adjust that difference, no, or the overstatement expenses, no, resulting to understated retained earnings or net income during the year in 2020 under retained earnings. So we're going to credit retained earnings. Pala, sorry. This is understated expense, so overstated. Tama, okay. So we are going to debit retained earnings, 80,000. Then, saan siya kinapitalize? Or capital amortized. Credit to intangible assets. Um, so at the in 2021, amortization was recorded in 2020 and 2021. So 40,000. Then amortization expense 40,000. So that's just to correct the entry, no? So in 2020, what the entity did is to record this 120,000 as intangible asset, and then a corresponding amortization. So that entry resulted to an understated expense, no, amounting to 120,000 pesos. However, there is an amortization recorded. So that amortization amounted to 40,000. So that's 120,000 divided by 3, di ba? Over 3 years, no? So the entity the uh, expenses therefore in 2020 is understated by 80,000 pesos. So if it's understated by 80,000 pesos, it means the net income is overstated. That's why for retained earnings beginning or in 2021, the retained earnings beginning should be adjusted by 80,000 pesos. Okay? Come 2021, an entry was made amounting to 40,000 pesos for the amortization again. So supposedly there should be no expense in 2021, right? Because this should have been recorded or expense out in 2021 when it was incurred, since it did not meet the criteria for capitalization. So 40,000 amortization expense recorded in 2021 resulting to overstated expenses, no? Overstated expenses and understated net income. And therefore, we are going to reverse that expense. So credit that expense to 40,000. And the difference, since yung 120 is recorded as intangible asset, so tatanggalin lang natin dito yung amortization na dalawa. So 120 minus 40 minus 40, that will remain, that will result to 40,000. So we are going to close that as well or credit that intangible assets to uh, amounting to 40,000 pesos. Okay? So that's our entry for number 5. Let's go to number 6. On August 1, 2020, the company received 120,000 pesos cash from a customer for services the company is to perform evenly over a 3-year period. So full amount was recorded as revenue in 2020 and no adjustments were taken up, no, at December 31, 2020 and 2021. So this is an unearned revenue. Okay, so unearned revenue. So the amount of this is 120,000, and supposedly this should be spread over 3 years, no? So this is from August 2021. So in 2020, it means the company should only earn, huh? Okay, unearned revenue. So revenue earned should be, so from August for 2020, that's from August to December. So that's for 5 months, no? Um, yeah, 5 months divided by 3 times 5 divided by 12. So the company should have supposedly should earn 16,667 only in 2020. No? In 2021, that's full year, January to December. So that's 120 divided by 3. Okay. Tapos in 2022, that's full year as well. Ano rin natin dito. So that's 40,000 also. And then the rest will be earned in 2023 from January to July. So that's 120 minus 6, 23,330. However, this full amount was recognized as revenue. So it means in 2020, there is an overstated, so overstated net income resulting to overstated retained earnings amounting to 103,333. So for number 6, our entry will be a debit to retained earnings, 103,333. Uh, a credit to revenue amounting to, for the current year, in 2021, and then a credit to unearned revenue for the remaining periods of 2022 and 2023. Okay, so that's our entry for 20 for number 6. No, so the entity recorded this 120,000 as revenue. Therefore, where in fact it should be spread over 3 years evenly. No, so as a result of that, there's an overstated revenue or resulting to overstated net income in 2020. However, a portion of that is to be recognized as revenue already, di ba? Yung August to December. So that's equivalent to 16,667. So as a result of that, the overstatement in revenue and net income during the year is uh 103,333 pesos only. Okay? And that 103,333 will be spread over the revenue for 2021 amounting to 40,000 equivalent to full year revenue, and unearned revenue for the revenues or for amounts pertaining to 2022 and 2023, no? Revenue or uh, for amounts to be earned in 2022 and 2023. Okay? So yan. So that's the entry. Right, that's number 6. Let's go to number 7. Unearned rent of 36,000 was not recorded at the end of 2020. So unearned rent, no? Ibig sabihin, there is a liability that should be recorded but it was not recorded. So it means kung hindi siya na-record as liability, na-record to as income. Right? So there is an overstated revenue retained earnings, no? In net income in 2020. So resulting to an overstated retained earnings amounting to 36,000 pesos and and earned and earned revenue amounting to 36,000 pesos. Okay? Ay, unearned rent. If it's unearned, rent revenue na to. Rent income pala to. Rent income in 2021. Okay? That's for number 7. Number 8, a capital expenditure of 1.5 million at January 1, 2019 for office equipment, useful life of 5 years, was erroneously charged to maintenance expense. So, 2019 to 2020, 2019 pa to, no, na error. So at 2021, what should be the correcting entry? So let me put it here. Capital expenditure, equipment, office equipment. Supposedly, the office equipment will have a cost of 1,500,000. But what happened is it was expensed out in full, no? So that's 2019. So 2019, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. Kung i-spread natin siya over 5 years. So 5 years useful life. So 5 years. Supposedly, the expense should be spread, no, like this, no, 300,000 per year starting 2019, but the full amount was expensed out. So as a result of that, there is an understatement in retained earnings amounting to 900,000 pesos. So mayroon tayo ditong retained earnings dito, credit to retained earnings amounting to 900,000 pesos. Then, since this was expense out, it means that office equipment is understated as well, no? So how much should be the office equipment at the end of in 2021? So to record it properly, let's record office equipment 1,500,000 pesos. And then corresponding adjustment to uh, accumulated depreciation, that's for the 3 years, no? 2020, 2021, 900,000 pesos. So what's the debit? What's the entry for the difference of 300,000? So there, the difference between the credit balance or credit amounts of 900,000 and 900 for accumulated depreciation and 900,000 for retained earnings will be a debit to depreciation expense. So there should be a depreciation recognized in 2021. So ito yan. Okay? So that's 1,800,000. So that will be our entry for number 8. Right. So that ends our problem number 6. The answers for problem number 6. Do you have any questions or clarifications? Yes, Winsal.
Sa yung number 2 po, hindi po ba siya
Number 2.
counterbalancing?
Number 2. This one?
Yes, sir, opo.
Oh, that's why we're correcting the retained earnings.
Hindi po, 'di ba sir, income na po yung initial na ni-record ng company. Hindi po ba mag-overstate yung retained earnings?
2020 supposedly yung income. Di ba?
2019 po
Accrued.
dapat, 'di ba?
Hindi, balito. Supposedly 2020, 2021. Hindi lang napalitan. But you're correct if it's 20, if we'll retain this, no? If we're going to retain what is given in the problem, no? Zero. Ay wala tayong i-record. That's correct, Winsal, no?
Okay po, thank you, sir.
Oo. But hindi lang nabago to. Should be 2019, 2020 and 2021. Okay? For the purposes of the illustration. So I'll take note, I'll put here corrections. Ano ba? Given info. Should be plus income should be intent. May ko na nga lang dito. Okay? So this is the entry, no? If we are going to correct this 2020 to and 2021, no? Accrued interest in 2020 but was only recorded or collected in 2021, no? And Winsal is correct as well. So if we are going to retain this, no? Uh, though, so it means for 20 in 2021 there should be no necessary entry anymore since it is a counterbalancing error. So it's corrected already when the entity collected the interest. Okay? Thank you, Winsal, for bringing that up. Other questions or clarifications? Other comments? Wala. Very good. So can you raise your hand if you get the correct answers or you get the same answers? Okay? So kokonti lang. 17. Okay. What about the others? Hindi nila nakuha o hindi na nakikinig. Anyway, sige, kayo naman ng ano dito. So let's go to problem number 7. Medyo mahaba, no? The profit or loss section of the Statement of Comprehensive Income of Tiger Ball Company for the years ended December 31, 2019, 2020, and 2021 indicates the following profit figures. So 450, 290, and 440,000, no, respectively. So net income. So we are asked to prepare a schedule showing the corrected profits amounts for the years 2020, 2019, 2020, and 2021. Each correction of the amount originally reported should be clearly labeled as well. So prepare audit adjusting entries. Assume that the books of the Tiger Ball have already been closed. So adjusting entries lang na naman. No? Masyado mahaba to. Anyway. So 2019, 2020, 2021. So the net income in 2019 is 450,000, 290,000, 440,000. Okay. So wages earned by workers but not paid at December 31 were consistently omitted from the records for the amounts, no, were as follows. So omission omitted wages. So in 2019, pag nagkaroon ng omission, so omission of December 31, 2019 wages amounting to 80,000 pesos. Then that will result to um, understated expenses resulting to overstated net income. So counterbalancing amount is 80,000. So when it was paid in 2020, diba, it was recorded as uh, expense. 2020, there is a 60,000 understatement, understatement and expenses resulting to understated net income, and then overstated net income rather, and then understated expenses of 78,000 2021 resulting to uh, overstated net income. Letter B, unused office supplies were overlooked at the end of each year as follows. So unused office supplies for 2019, it means expenses is overstated by 32,000. So understated ang net income by 32,000 in 2020, overstated in 2021. Overstated. In 2020, understated by 25,000, 2021 overstated by 25,000. And in 2021, understated by 22,400 pesos. All right. Letter C, interest receivable in the amounts of 18,000 pesos was not recorded on December 31, 2020. Interest income was recorded when collected in 2021. So interest in 2020. So 2020 should be is understated by 18,000, overstated naman. Sorry, understated, overstated. Okay. Letter D, on January 2, 2019, a piece of equipment costing 42,000 was sold for 25,000 pesos. At the date of sale, the equipment had accumulated depreciation of 24,000. The cash received was recorded as miscellaneous income in 2019. In addition, the appreciation was recorded for this equipment in 2019, 2020, and 2021 at the rate of 10% of cost. So, ang daming error dito, no? So, 2019, sale of machinery. So, ang sabi dito, as the machinery has a cost of 42,000. Okay? Then, it was sold for 25,000 with an accumulated depreciation of 24,000 at the date of sale. So it means the net book value at the time of sale is 18,000 pesos. And it was sold for cash price or proceeds 25,000 pesos. So it means there is a gain on sale of 7,000 pesos supposedly. But the recording was the company recorded it as a miscellaneous. So original entry. The original entry made is debit to cash, credit to miscellaneous income, 5,000 pesos. And then there is another error which is the recognition of depreciation expense. So in 2021, there's an expense or depreciation expense recorded amounting to 10% of the cost, 4,200. So ano na yung mga kailangan natin correct dito? So we have to correct the gain on sale, no? From 25,000, it should only be 7,000. And then the depreciation expenses, no? Amounting to 4,200, 4,200, and 4,200. So, plot muna natin dito, no? Gain on sale. It was in 2019. So the amount that should be recorded as should only 15,000, 7,000. But is what was recorded is 25,000. So resulting to overstated net income in 2019 amounting to 25,000 less 7,000. Oops, mali. So there's an overstatement of 18,000 pesos pertaining to this sale of or to this piece of equipment, no? There's an depreciation expense from 2019 to 2020 kasi it was already sold, but the company continued appreciating, no, the equipment. So there is an overstated expense resulting to understated net income by 4,200, 4,200, 4,200. And next is rental. So that's for number letter D. Letter E, rental of 60,000 pesos on an equipment applicable for 6 months was received on October 31, 2021. So the entire amount was recorded as revenue upon receipt and no adjustment was made at the end of 2021. So rental income in 2021, there is a overstatement of, so the 60,000 should be spread over 6 months times from October to uh, from October 31 to December 31. So only 2 months supposedly yung earn, di ba? So times 2 divided by mali. Mali dito. Supposedly the entity will earn 10,000 per month. So times 2, that's 20,000. Okay? So the company um recorded it as revenue pala, no? Revenue. So it means overstated ang net income by four with ano no, yung 4 months. So supposedly 2 months only yung ano nila. So 40,000 overstatement in rental income. Okay? Ano ba? So that's the schedule. So after analyzing the okay, after analyzing the errors, So here's the adjusted ano. Tama ba? Nasama in 2019. So it means there is an overstate or the adjusted net income for 2019 should be 406,200. 2020, 289,200. 2021, 463,600. Okay? So to make the correcting entries or adjusting entries, so for the omitted wages, no, uh, so for the omitted wages, let's put it letter A. The entry will be a debit to impact on RE will be retained earnings. So for number one, so letter A, omitted wages. So the entry for that to correct it is ito na lang, no? Kasi nag-counterbalance na yung 2019 and, hindi, sorry, hindi pala. Nag-counterbalance na tong 2019. So we'll have this adjustment from 2020 and 2021. So for 2020, no, that's the impact of that understated expenses will be overstated uh, net income. So therefore, there is a debit to retained earnings amounting to 60,000. No? And then we'll have an accrued expenses expense amounting to 78,000 and wages expense amounting to 18,000 for the difference. Okay? So ito yun, no? Wages expense, ito siya. Uh, Retained earnings, the 60,000, and then 78,000, that's supposedly the amount of accrual in 2021. Okay? Accrued expense. For letter B, unused supplies. So entry is we have an understated retained earnings. So a credit to retained earnings. So a debit to unused supplies. So unused supplies debit amounting to 22,400. Retained earnings credit amounting to 25,000. So the difference is supplies expense amounting to 25,000 less, ito na lang, 2,600. Okay, so that's for the prepaid or unused office supplies. Letter C, interest receivable, no, amounting to 18,000 not recorded. So it means retained earnings. Yeah, correct. Sorry. Ano sabi mo dito, sorry? Yeah, 2020 and okay, sorry, nalagay pala sa 2021. Right. Okay. So yan, 2020, 18,000, no? Thank you for that, ano, Larry. Okay, so retained earnings is understated in 2020, so that credit yan, no? Debit, interest income, since that income should not pertain to should not be recorded in 2021, rather it should be in 2020. So kailangan natin siyang tanggalin. Okay? Letter D, yung piece of equipment, no? So this is the correction. Let's make the correction first on the gain on sale, no? So miscellaneous income, sorry, this was in 2019, no? So retained earnings. Try ko muna dito, gain on sale. So retained earnings, debit amounting to, magkano na nga ba to? ₱18,000, no? Credit equipment, baba natin, 42,000. Then accumulated depreciation, ₱24,000. So bangga, 42. Then for the depreciation, so that resulted to overstated understated retained earnings, overstated depreciation expense in 2021, no? And overstated accumulated depreciation. So the accumulated depreciation will be ito, total itong tatlo plus 1. Then the depreciation expense will be the for 2021, and the retained earnings is for 2019 and 2020. 2019 and 2020 expenses. Okay, so that's for letter D. And then letter E, the rental. Ano ba nangyari dito? Retained earnings. Okay. Rental is uh, uh, dapat deduction. Correct, correct. Okay? So, overstated kasi it was recorded as revenue no in 2021. So, letter E should be a debit to sales amounting to and then unearned rental. Okay? That's 40,000 pesos. Okay, thank you again, Larry. So letter E is 40,000 debit to sales and then 40,000 credit to unearned rental. All right. Number three, assume that the books no, of Tiger Ball for 2021 have already been closed. Propose correcting entries in the books of Tiger Ball during 2022. So number three, corrections in 2022. 2022. So what will be the correcting entries? If we go back here, no, alin lang dito yung magkakaroon ng impact. So 2019 and 2020, no more effect, right? Counterbalance na sila. Only the 2021 uh, commission of salaries or wages. Ganun din dito, yung 2021, oops, ano nangyari dito? So same here, the 2021 unused supplies, no? Yun na lang yung may iwan. Ganun din dito sa for your interest receivable, no effect. Counterbalance na siya. 20, the gain on sale, meron pa rin, no? Non-counterbalancing as well as the retained earnings. As for the rental income, meron din siyang impact. Okay? So, in short, yung wages, unused supplies, gain on sale, depreciation expense, yun lang yung magkakaroon ng um, corrections no in 2020 during the year 2022. So what will be the necessary entries? What will be our correcting entries in 2022? So dito kukunin lang natin yung 78 and 78,000 no? So we'll have ganun ulit letter A retained earnings and accrued expenses or hindi, di pala. Wages expense na 2022. That's 78,000. Bakit wages expense and not accrued expenses? Kasi nga counterbalancing to, di ba? So the correction should only be made on the uh, corresponding account no, affecting income uh, income statement. Okay? So wages expenses. Letter B, naba natin, supplies expense. That's amounting to 22,400. And then retained earnings, 22,400. Okay. Letter C, no entry needed. since it's a counterbalancing. Letter D. So for letter D, we'll have an entry to adjust the retained earnings for the. So same lang, no? Yung dito sa ano, retained earnings, accumulated depreciation, gain on sale, parehas lang yan. Ba't nawala yung ano? Dito sa depreciation, itong dalawa lang. And the amount of retained earnings will now be same as the accumulated depreciation of 12,600. Okay? Letter E for the rental. So for letter E, meron pa tayong kailangan adjustment dito. So letter E, rental, wala na, di ba? Uh, 40,000. Yeah, for the year pala, sakto. So for the current year, 40,000. 20,000. Yung 20,000 sales. Sorry. Sales, retained earnings. Yeah, okay. Okay, so these are the adjusting entries, no, to correct the balances or the amounts in 2022. So do you have any questions or clarifications? Baka may hindi na miss out ulit ako. Clarifications, questions? Please raise your hand if you were able to follow the discussion. Okay. Did you get the same answer? Correct answer? Okay. So let's go to problem number 8. Mahaba ulit to. Okay. Kaya pa 20 minutes. Problem number 8. What's the requirement here? So audit adjusting entries, statement of comprehensive income, and statement of financial position. Nako, ang haba naman nun. All right, so provided here are, so you were provided with the trial balance, no? Prepared from those records on December 31, 2021 as follows. So during the course of the audit, the following data were gathered. So there are, Larry, are you raising your hand or kanina pa yan? Okay, good. So, all right. So you were provided with the following information, no, about the items here in the trial balance. So number one, accounts receivable at December 31, 2020 and December 31, 2021 were 100,000 and 250,000 respectively. Accounts payable at December 31, 2020 and December 31, 2021 were 175,000 and 140,000 pesos respectively. So sinasabi lang dito, no? So we don't have information here. So ito yung TB, beginning and ending balance. No? Movements. Basically, these are the movements or the entries created in 2021 rather. So included in sales of 2021 was 20,000 pesos paid in advance by a customer for goods to be delivered. So yung meron tayong mali dito, no? So adjustment, sige. So let's prepare. Yung kailangan natin is audit adjusting entries. So number one, audit adjusting entries. Oops. Okay. First bullet, it says here accounts receivable beginning is December beginning amounted to 100,000 pesos and 250,000 pesos ending. So what's the indication of that, or what do we need to do with that? So if we are going to look at the trial balance, no, there is a sales of 20 million, 2 million. So it means cash sales beating the earnings. This is cash basis pala, sorry. So but the auditor noted that the cash basis of accounting. So we'll have to create an entry pala dito, no, to record kaya pala walang accounts receivable or accounts payable here. So since this is a cash basis double entry method, so it means all the uh, amounts here are only pertaining to cash collections or cash payments or cash disbursements, no? So in that case, for bullet number one, we are going to record accounts receivable at December 31, 2020 is 100,000 and the um, ending is 250,000. So anong ibig sabihin nun? It means that in 2020, the company omitted the 100,000 pesos credit sales, no? Kasi meron siya supposedly receivable na 100,000 pesos. So it means there is a um, understated retained earnings in 2020. So ilagay ko dito credit, no? To record credit sales. So retained earnings credit supposedly. And then during the year, the company also omitted, no? The 250,000 receivables or credit sales. So there will be a corresponding accounts receivable and sales during 2021. So debit. So there's an accounts receivable of 250,000 pesos, sales of 200. Sorry, that should be 100, 350,000, 250,000 pesos. Sale of 100,000 pesos, 150,000 pesos, and retained earnings of 100,000 pesos. Okay? So while 100, why 150? That's the increase, no? The increase in uh, receivables during the year, di ba? That's the 150,000 pesos pertains to the increase in receivables during the year. So that should be recorded as sales in 2021. Okay? Then there's another in adjustment to be made as well for the purchases naman, no? To record purchases payable on to record the payables naman related to purchases. So 2020 there is a accounts payable of 175,000 pesos and uh 140,000 pesos at the end of the year. So what does it mean? Again, kulang yung recorded purchases. So what's the impact of that? So the purchases or the cost of sales is overstated. So it means we have to debit retained earnings, no, by the amount of 175,000 pesos. And for the current year, for the current year, the accounts payable is amounting to 140,000. So we have to record as well the balance of accounts payable amounting to 140,000 pesos. So 175 and 140,000, we have a difference of uh, how much is that? 35,000 pesos. So what we're going to do with the 35,000 pesos? So we record that as reduction to purchases or cost of sales, no? So that will be 35,000 pesos. Okay? That's for letter for bullet number 1. Are there any questions? Do you have any questions? None? So let's go to bullet number 2. Included in the sales of 2021 was 20,000 pesos unearned, no? Unearned sales or unearned revenue. So we are going to correct that by debiting sales amounting to 20,000, credit to unearned revenue 20,000. Okay? Next bullet is accrued expenses. Total 35,000 pesos at year end 2020 and 50,000 pesos at year end 2021. So similar, doon sa taas, no? We are going to record uh, this accrued expenses as debit to, so understated expense resulting to overstated net income. So a debit to retained earnings amounting to 35,000 pesos, no? A credit to accrued expenses amounting to how much is that at in 2022, 50,000 pesos, and a debit to operating expense amounting to the difference of 15,000 pesos. Right? So that's for letter D. Letter for the bullet number 3, no? Bullet number 4, merchandise inventory amounted to 65,000 pesos at December 31, 2020. 110,000 at December 31, 2021. The purchases include 50,000 pesos cash advances to a supplier for merchandise to be delivered in 2022. So madami-dami tayong ano dito, adjustment, no? So letter E. So first is on the merchandise inventory, now amounting to 65,000 at the beginning of or at the end of 2020. So what's the result of that? So uh, inventory beginning is overstated. So we'll have to record that inventory beginning and then retained earnings. amounting to 65,000 pesos. Then next entry is the ending inventory naman, no? Inventory ending amounting to and cost of sales. So understated understated ang ending inventory. So ibig sabihin overstated ang cost of sales by 110,000 pesos. And the supplies, no, advance payments for supplies for advance payments for the purchases. So advances to suppliers purchases amounting to 50,000 pesos. Okay, so that's for the bullet number 4. Let's go to bullet number 5. Printing equipment was acquired September 2020. Estimated useful life is 10 years. No residual value. Land and buildings acquired as well on that date. And the building has established estimated useful life of 20 years. Uses straight line method of depreciation. So, ano na lang ang ano dito? Printing equipment, we don't have here. Building, ito, 750,000 pesos. No? So, ang kulang is yung ano, ito pala, printing equipment, 100,000 pesos, no? So the missing entry here is the depreciation. So letter F, depreciation of PPE. So yung una is adjustment to depreciation expense, equipment. So that's 100,000 pesos divided by 10. So that's for 2021. No, there is an adjustment on depreciation expense amounting to 10,000 pesos. Retained earnings, depreciation expense na rin muna ng building. Na lang natin. For the building, it's 750,000 pesos divided by 20 years. No? So that's for the year. Uh, accumulated depreciation, credit, will be, that's for um, 10,000 plus 37,500 plus yung from September to September 1 to December 4 months, no? So that's ito na lang, times 4 divided by 12 plus 2 this 2. So that's 83,000 tama ba? Ano natin? September, October, November, December, 4 months. Ito gawin na nga lang natin. Retained earnings, that will be the 100,000 divided by 10 years times 4 divided by 12. So the first one plus the 750,000 divided by 20 years times 4 divided by 12 and 15,000. So accumulated depreciation will be 83,333. Okay? And then an analysis of the company's receivables indicates that at December 31, 2021, 10% of the outstanding accounts proved that to be proof uncollectible. So letter F, letter G, that means 10% of uh, allowance for doubtful accounts. So it means a debit to bad debts expense. That's 250,000 times 10%. So 25,000. And then allowance for doubtful accounts, 35,000 pesos. All right. I think we still have one more item here. So if you allow me to finish it, then ito yung magiging entry natin for um this last item, no? The mortgage payable was related to a land and building acquired September. Interest is at 12% per annum payable semi-annually on September 1 and March 1. The mortgage is payable in annual installments of 50,000 pesos every August 31. So the first installment was paid on August 31, 2021. The interest paid was charged to operate expenses. So 450,000. So it seems like correct naman yung uh, payment, no? Application of payment. What is missing is the entry to record the interest. So interest expense on mortgage payable. So entry is a debit to retained earnings. That's for the 500,000 times 0.12 times 4 divided by 12 months times 0.12 times 4 divided by 12 months. And then uh, interest expense, no? Interest expense before the payment, that's 500,000 times 0.12 times 8 divided by 12. So equals 500,000 times 0.12 times 8 divided by 12. So 40,000 pesos. No? So sabi dito, the interest paid was charged. No? It was charged to operate expenses. So ililipat lang natin siya, no? To interest expense. So we will be crediting operating expenses amounting to 60,000 pesos. Okay? Then of course, we are going to record the interest for this period from September 1 to December 31, no, which is payable in March, no, 2021. So entry to record interest expense, accrue to accrue accrual of interest expense. So that's for this period of, so that's 450,000 450,000 na lang kasi nagbayad na ng 50,000, no? Times 4 divided by 12. So that's 450,000 times 0.12 times 4 divided by 12. Okay? Interest or accrued interest, 18,000 pesos. All right, so that's the adjusting entries for the given information, no, additional information. So what we're going to do now next is to update, no, the trial balance with this adjustments and make the statements of comprehensive income and statements of financial position. But since it's already 11:03, so we'll have to cut our discussions here and then we'll continue again next meeting. So thank you so much, everyone, and happy weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you po.